Happy holidays, everyone. Just starting the connection. My special guest today, Smriti Singh. And maybe she thinks I'm her special guest. We're all special guests to one another in this world.
Hi, how are you doing? Hi.
Good to see you, Smriti. Thank you.
Yeah, it's good to see you too.
Mental health during the holidays, which is our topic today, right? And
Yeah,
I had noticed and was very encouraged by yourself and others, especially of your generation, who are creating and spreading awareness of mental health. And that was something that
yes,
nobody talked about. When I was younger, nobody talked to my parents about it when they were younger. This was not a thing until very recently, and the importance of mental health cannot be understated. It's not just an important thing, it's everything, right?
exactly. It's everything.
Yes. So whenever we feel stressed, we can see how we start, we don't eat well, we don't sleep well, we don't feel so well. If we're not happy and balanced in our minds, our relationships get strained, we lose happiness and joy in life. Everything flows from mental health. And especially the holidays is something that brings up that triggers us in a lot of ways. So
Yeah.
that's what we're going to talk about today. So tell me a little bit about how you just, a little bit about your story and your background and how you became such an advocate for the space.
Okay, so I'm an engineer, okay, living in India, and I have suffered a lot for my mental health. Okay, it was like I was in depression for many years, and I didn't know that I am in depression. I had serious anxiety issues. I used to have panic attacks and all that stuff, but there was nobody to help me. And actually, I didn't know that I was going through such stuff. And there was a time that I was highly suicidal. There were many dark thoughts also. So that's when I started to, I started to think I can't live this way. I need to seek help. And I started reading a lot about it. I started reading a lot of blogs, and I started reading a lot of books. And that's when I thought, this is not, though people don't talk about this a lot. This topic is very underrated, especially in India. People don't talk about it. When you share with them, they ignore it. And I thought maybe I can raise awareness. Maybe I can use this thing as my strength. And slowly, I started writing my opinions, my blogs. I started reaching out many mental health professionals if they want to educate some people in my country. And that's how when I started raising awareness.
Yeah, well, that's really fantastic. And it's great to hear. And, it's tough sometimes, the struggles we go through and the suffering, it pushes us. Um,
Yes.
right.
And I feel that it is totally mental health is physical health, because you stop eating, you suffer from your sleep issues, lot of things goes, and it's very hard to explain someone that what you are going through.
Yeah. Because you're
And
a brand
holiday,
new person. Yeah, exactly. You're a brand new person. You just, sprung to life. You're on this planet suddenly, and you're feeling a certain way. You have nothing to compare yourself to, and you may think this is normal what you're experiencing. And for the longest time, nobody talks about it, and then things just get worse.
yeah, yeah, true. And this holiday makes it worse, especially if you are, using your phone, using social media, and you're seeing other people enjoying, you start comparing yourself, okay? And if you are staying alone, if you're not going anywhere, and during this Corona times, if you are not celebrating it the way you always wanted to be, and if you're feeling alone, you're missing your home or your loved ones, it can be very tough.
Yeah. And loneliness is a big topic, not just during the holidays, but at all times.
Exactly.
Especially it surfaces now because, like you said, this year particularly, we haven't had our routines in place. But also at other times, we're exposed to, the media never shows people happy by themselves. It's always
Yeah.
people doing things together. So we're programmed, and everyone's showing off their happy side online, and everything's perfect in their life, and this conditioning, this illusion, if you will, starts to build that there's something wrong with being alone, and there's something wrong with me then for being alone. And
Yeah, and I think there's especially during holidays, there is a pressure to celebrate. There's a hype and all that pressure. We see people and we compare. We see there are just some highlights and we compare with them. And if we are not doing in such way, we actually, I see many people comparing. I have done that too, especially last holidays. I was not that well and I was on bed rest, and when I was seeing other people celebrating it and online and everything, I also suffered. I was just comparing with them, and I think that's nobody shared. That's
Yeah.
something nobody shared.
Yeah, exactly. And this comparison, this looking outside of ourselves to what are others doing, and then comparing yourself to that is one of the deepest seated challenges that we face. Nobody teaches us to look within, and really that's what my book, right, Be You, is all about.
Yeah.
Is to refocus from this constant comparison to the world around us, and to look within and find what's true for you, what's right for you, what resonates for you. And that could be anything. It doesn't have to be, it could be a big crowd, it can be just a quiet time and stillness. Everything is legitimate, nothing's right or wrong. All that matters is what's true for you. And to get to that place, to hear that inner voice that tells you what the right thing for you is, irregardless of what everyone else is doing around you, you have to be able to cut through all that noise and all that barrage and the conditioning that we've been subjected to from early on. So it doesn't happen overnight, but it can happen. And when it does, it's the most freeing experience to know that, no, I'm going to be true to how I feel. And it doesn't matter what everyone else is doing. They can do what they're doing, and hopefully they're happy doing that as well. So it becomes you move out of this comparison state, and you start shifting into just pure joy. You're happy that you are the way you want to be, and you're happy that other people are living their lives. And it's only in this state, this mental state of comparison, that we judge. That's right, that's wrong, I'm right, the others are wrong, all of this stuff. And that creates negativity inside of us, and no good can come from that.
Exactly.
Yeah. Very good. So loneliness is during the holidays is especially challenging, and like you said, this year as well. There are wonderful ways to understand that loneliness is really just an emotion. It's a feeling, just like other uncomfortable feelings. And what keeps uncomfortable feelings alive is our resistance to them. So we don't want to feel them. We block them. We push them down. And that's what makes them strong. There are no feelings that can harm you, that can hurt you, if you allow them to just pass, because all feelings come and go. That's their natural motion. It's when we hold on to them and by resisting, because resisting them blocks them from flowing through you. That's when the trouble begins. So some of the things that really help us get out of this block, I wanted to talk about today. They're little simple things. If you think about how much time we spend in our head every day, comparing, thinking, judging what's right and what's wrong, compared to the time that we focus on ourselves and practice self-care, you can see, if you sleep 8 hours and say you have 16 hours left, how much of that 16 hours do you actually spend on yourself and taking care of your own needs and your mental health? And then very quickly we find out, wow, we spent all this time, worrying about the world around us and other people and work and school and all these things, and we neglect ourselves tremendously. So no wonder we then start to suffer and become unhappy and become depressed and so forth.
Yes, exactly. This is something I learned from my therapy.
Yes, exactly. Well, let's talk a little bit about therapy, because we had some great questions submitted. I think one was around therapy. Mm-hmm.
I got so much help from therapy, but I mean, I learned people don't go for therapy in India because there are a lot of stigma associated with it. But they help you, they shows you the right path, and they are expert on that field. So sometimes you just need a leap of faith, and you have to just trust them, and you have to just do whatever they are suggesting you, whatever they are telling you. And what, like you said, how much time we are spending with our thoughts matter. It really matters. So like, in therapy, I started, as they suggested me, I started doing journaling, lot of self-care. And self-care is not about just taking your skincare, hair care. No, it's taking care of your thoughts and accepting what you're going through, accepting completely your feelings and asking what you want to do. Um, Recently, what I started to do, as suggested by my therapist, was self discovery. So there are sometimes we just don't know how to know ourselves, how to accept those feelings. So asking a lot of questions about ourselves can help you, can really help you, especially during this time. There was, I mean, there were many questions, which I never thought, but when I asked myself such questions, it can keep you in that position. You actually, give a thought. Okay, what I'm feeling right now. Am I doing for myself? There are many ways you can do that.
Yes, and one of the questions I believe was, how to deal with all those, with that loneliness and that time, and many also the pressure of having to socialize and having to spend time with family and having to celebrate in a particular way. There's many different reasons we feel triggered during this time, and so one of the questions was, what can we do to make best use of this loneliness, if you will. And this really is that it's a very special opportunity when you do feel alone, because it's all the other times that we distract ourselves with work and video games and news and media and movies and whatnot. But it's the times when we feel that loneliness that we become more aware of, oh, this is where I feel this within. It's actually more acute during the holidays because there's more focus on your feelings, and that's really a golden opportunity to, like you just said, to allow those feelings to be. It is not to look for the next distraction, but to actually see where you feel that inside your body. It's coming out of your headspace and feeling it where it lives within your body, and giving it attention, giving it care, accepting it, allowing it, and not resisting it or fighting it. And it's learning to give it space. And then that magical thing happens, as you alluded to, is like it dissolves, it leaves us. This thing that is so scary, that is bothersome, that we're so afraid of feeling. Once we give it space, it just disappears, and very often very quickly too. And so it's quite remarkable that we're these fluid energy containers, if you will, that the life force is just flowing through us. And the only times we get into trouble is when we stop the flow. So best use of the loneliness during the holidays is actually to practice self-care. And yes, it's not makeup or skincare, but actually give yourself the attention that you're missing, that you're seeking from others, that you're not getting, and actually give it to yourself. Just give it to yourself. And this is the time to do it.
And I think the first step is slowing down and sitting with your feelings, accepting what you're going through, not running from it, not distracting yourself, watching movies, or I mean, that is good. But if you are trying to run away from your feelings, then I think it is going to be the worst thing.
Yes. Yeah, it only gets worse. Even a tiny little thing becomes a big monster. Can you walk us a little bit through? So I'm big on practical advice. Like it's great to point out things, and even in my journey, it was great to understand things. But then how to actually implement something that brings relief, that brings healing, is always the bigger challenge. Because mentally, of course, we all understand we should allow ourselves to feel our feelings. But how do you, when that loneliness emerges, or when you feel that depression coming on, do you have a process that you could just in a few steps walk us through? Is like, how do you then manage that situation?
Okay, yeah. So from my personal experience, the first thing is like accepting what I'm feeling, asking myself, okay, what I'm feeling. And one thing I have started to do is like labeling my emotions. It helps us a lot. Sometimes we don't know what we are going through. Sometimes if some person is crying or is feeling some anger, depression can come in various ways. So asking ourselves what we are going through right now, what I'm feeling right now, is very important. Not running away from it, okay? Not distracting yourself, okay? And writing down helps me. It helps me personally. So I write down whatever is going on in my head. Otherwise, I can't sleep. I really can't sleep. Even I'm trying to distract myself, if I'm even watching movies or something, there's some thoughts, it's going on back on my head. So what I do, I just take my journal, and whatever is bothering me, whatever are things in my head, I just write it down. It really helps me. And I try to label my emotions. For example, if I'm feeling very sad, even if I'm feeling very depressed, there are various emotions. So I ask myself what emotions I'm feeling right now. So it helps me, when we do that, it actually kind of makes us feel safe. We at least acknowledge it, what we are going through. And I think that is the first step of healing.
Yeah.
That is really the first step of healing. If we should understand that if there is a pain, we are going to experience this pain. We are going to feel this pain. We can't run away from it. The more we will run away from it, the more we will tell ourselves, okay, I can run away, or no. The more we will deny it, the more we are going to feel it in different ways, and more it will make our situation worse. So the best thing is accepted. Second thing is, if things are not helping, seeking help, sharing someone that what you are going through, and taking care of your breathing. It helps me particularly. So right breathing is very, very important. As you said also, where it is in your body, where are you feeling that tension in your body? Sit with yourself and take a deep breath. Take a nice deep breath. It really helps. It really helps.
Yeah.
One thing more, sometimes people get very anxious. They don't know what to do. My therapist one thing helped me with few grounding techniques. Like, sometimes our thoughts are very negative. We think very negative about ourselves. So what we should, at the time, just keeping your legs on the ground and asking yourself where I am. Not telling ourselves we are not in the past, we are not in the future. Right now we are just in this room, asking ourselves what. You're just distracting your mind sometimes, like, what do you see, what do you hear, what do you taste? Such questions can also help you just to keep yourself in the present moment.
Yes.
And there are other grounding techniques also, like holding a stone, holding a ice even, and feeling it completely. That keeps you grounded. Like, that just gives you something that it tells you, okay, you are in the present moment. You are not exactly what your thoughts are. Don't believe everything what your mind is saying. So yes, such little things help you.
Yes, and they're not little things. Those are amazing things, and they have huge impact. Is to realize that you are not your thoughts is a huge step to get taking yourself out of their grip. Right? They don't own you. They don't rule you any longer. You don't have a thought then, and just you follow it, and 10, 20 minutes you're lost in thought, and you go down the rabbit hole of where that thought takes you. Instead, you're able to observe those thoughts. They pop up all day long. And the sooner we recognize there's another thought, the more we create that gap between ourselves, our true self, and the thought. And we recognize the thoughts come and go. Some of them are silly, some of them are important, some of them are menacing, bothersome. Whatever it is, they're just thoughts. And it's important to not push them away. That makes them stronger. But it's equally important to just allow them to be, and then they pass, and then you're free, and then you're in the flow of life. So I love that you mentioned breathing, because that's my technique that I work towards every day. And even as a practice, that when I wake up I do it, when in the evening when I do it, but anywhere throughout the day when there's a blockage, when you feel a creative block, when you feel stressed, when you feel triggered by something or someone, it doesn't matter what, taking it just a minute sometimes. That's all it takes, is to focus on my breath and observe, notice if a thought pulls me away, and then bring the attention back to my breath. And this creates a perspective, a separation from the thought. and it doesn't own me anymore, and then it leaves again. And so that's something I do all the time as well, and I can't do it enough. Again,
Okay,
if you, yeah.
I'm lazy. I don't do it all the time. I do it when I suffer the most. But this is something I should do it every day. But I only do it when I suffer the most. But it helps. It actually helps.
Yes, it helps tremendously. And
Yeah.
and again, if we look at how much time we spend, distracted in our heads, comparing and all that, compared to how much time we actually spend on breathing, on observing, on journaling, getting, the mental health, taking care of yourself part, it's no wonder that, there's an imbalance. But
Yeah, but the one thing is when we are in the depression, when we are going through depression, we don't feel like doing it at that time. This thing may feel very mechanical, but the key is pushing ourselves.
yeah,
Sometimes little things helps a lot. Pushing, some initially, I never felt like doing it when I was suffering the most. But when I started doing it, I thought, oh my God, it really helps. It really helps. You realize it later.
yes, exactly. Yeah, it's little things. We expect that, the magic pill that suddenly everything's happy again. It doesn't quite work that way, but gradually you become more stable and you become less reactive to the thoughts and depression. Um, so a few people, I saw some comments mentioned exercise as well. So yeah, so exercise and
Yes.
movement, and it doesn't have to be a sport. It can be a
Yes.
sport, and that's why, you know, uh, any sport is so freeing and so fun. It's because you're out of your head and you're just in the present moment, and you're after that ball, or you're running, whatever it may be. But even just going for a walk is movement. I found even with all the breathing exercises, with all the meditation and visualizations that you can do, it's has to be in combination with moving. If you just sit all day long, it doesn't work quite as well. So
Yeah.
move,
Yes, and staying active is very important,
yeah,
especially during winter season. Staying active is
yeah.
very important for your mind. I started with dancing. It's funny, it's silly,
Ah,
but I started with dancing. I dance every day for 20 to 30 minutes. It helps, it actually helps.
yeah, that's fantastic.
And sometimes just I don't feel like doing anything, so what I do, I just go into my kitchen, I make myself tea, I just move my body initially. Like moving from your bed, doing something is very important, especially in that state. And yes, exercise plays a very very important role.
Yeah, fantastic. So exercise, some creative outlet, so a creative activity, anything
Yes.
creative, same thing, and it takes you, it relieves the mind and puts you in your body, puts you into the present moment. Any play, any games, things like that.
Yeah.
It's super helpful. So great. So and what better reason to fill your day with games and play and exercise and journaling too, and can be the relief is so instant. It's becomes a fun thing once you start getting into it. So those are all great reasons to fill your day with fun activities.
Yes, and personally, writing, I feel like writing is very powerful.
Yeah. Exactly. And for me, in particular, writing the book was very cathartic, and I had to go to my deepest depths in order to really pick apart all these topics and what they meant to me, and where within me there was blockage that I had to release in order to be able to, as part of the writing process, so I could go deeper and express myself.
I
So.
have one interesting question for you. So someone asked me, like, I'm bisexual, and as your book says that it's be you. So how this booking is going to accept me in front of others?
Hmm. Okay. So great question. So the premise, the base foundation of BU is that comparison that we talked about earlier falls away. You become so grounded in yourself and so confident in yourself. You're not deriving confidence from others around you. You're not looking for permission from the world around you. You're not looking for validation from the world around you, because you're making, little by little, you're making decisions that are aligned with who you are. The reason we're lost in the first place is because we're listening to outside voices instead of our inner voice. And that's how we get confused and lost. And then, you know, one voice says this, another one says that, and then we're all over the place. We can't pursue our goals as well and execute because we're always being distracted. And how about this? And that real true trust and real true confidence cannot come from the world around us. The world around us is always changing. Everyone has an opinion. Life comes and goes. It's not where we're going to find our permanent happiness. We can find happy things, joyful things, but they're not permanent. Things will come and go. There's change. The world is changing. It's a flow. But there is permanent joy and happiness to be found within yourself, because that's the center of the universe, if you will, of your world. Because when you align yourself with your values and your inner truth, nothing can shake that. Everyone else can have their truth, and it doesn't bother you anymore because you're not dependent on them for your happiness, and you're not dependent on them for your truth. So finding within, going within, and that's making decisions. Every little decision that happens throughout the day, there's a little voice saying, you know, this is what is true for me. But then all too often we do what somebody else wants us to do, or what society thinks we should do, or we do what all our friends are doing, or what the neighbors are doing. And that's how we continue to stay lost and out of alignment with our inner self. So it doesn't matter who you are, what your orientation is, or what your goals are in life, or how you feel about anything in life, because you know that's how you feel, and it does how others feel is okay as well. There's no comparison. And it's the comparison that creates the friction and the antagonism. So the more you speak your own truth, and you don't have to be rude about it, it's just being, polite but firm about, this is where I stand, this is what matters to me at this time, whatever the situation may be. You have to stand your own ground and speak up for yourself and your needs. And then from there, your own foundation grows, and everyone else can have their foundation. You don't need them to be different. You don't need them to agree with you, and you don't need to agree with them. So from that strong foundation within yourself, you can be exactly who you're supposed to be, who you're meant to be, who you want to be, and nothing can touch you, nothing can bother you, nothing can harm you. You are you.
Yeah. And it doesn't happen in one day. It's a practice. We need to keep it practicing.
Yeah. And life is that practice. It's happening all day long. We're being confronted with situations and circumstances where we have a choice to be you or not to be you, right? It's in the first chapter of the book. Every day, every morning you get dressed and go to school or go to work, you have a choice. Are you dressing for yourself today and how you feel, or are you dressing for the office and your image and what others will think of you?
Exactly.
Right? So
okay, so we have one question. Okay, people do affect your peace. How not to let them affect you?
Yeah, great question. So the first stage is very similar to what we spoke about earlier. When you experience feelings, somebody can say something that triggers you. Somebody can send negative energy towards you, negative attitude. They upset you a certain way. Whatever it is, the first priority is to allow those feelings. You have to give those feelings space. You have to come out of reactivity before you respond. If you're in reactivity, then you respond with negativity as well, and then they respond with negativity again. It just becomes a big turmoil situation, a mess. But take care of your own emotions first, and we talked about all the different ways you can do that. Breathing. If you need to say, I need to step away from the situation and clear my head, just try to stay out of reactivity. Because that only makes things worse in relationships, at work, at school, with your friends and family and whatnot. And if you feel triggered, if you feel that, immediately, everybody knows what it feels like to be triggered. But that's an opportunity to that feeling triggered points to something within you that's stuck feelings, right? So it's really a wonderful thing, and life is the lesson, is that whenever you feel triggered, it's an opportunity to look within. So rather than blaming the other person, rather than accusing them and pushing back or fighting back, see it as an opportunity. It doesn't take much to recognize this. Oh, I feel triggered somewhere within myself, in my body. it points to where you carry these wounds, these stuck feelings, these unresolved emotions and issues. And boom, if you ever needed a GPS of like, where do I need to work on in myself? Well, life all day long is, sending you triggers, and they point to where you're not whole, where you need healing. And that's life, and that's the system we live in. And once you get a hang of that, like you said, is like you feel triggered, you feel the emotions of depression, maybe whatever it is, then you now have a set of tools, and that's why we're doing this. Is you can sit down and journal and let it out. You can do breathing exercises. You can just move. You can go for a walk. How many times you feel upset and triggered? Well, go for a short walk even.
Yes, exactly. Just changing the environment also helps.
Exactly, it makes a big difference. So
Yeah.
that's what it's all about.
Yeah.
Very good. I think we had some other questions as well. I know they're scrolling past us so quickly. Do you have any written down from before?
Yeah, there are one. I'm a student and I experience much stress. How can I learn to deal with the stress?
Yes. Okay.
Okay.
So a lot of our stress comes from our reaction to feeling a certain way. All of our most of our suffering, same thing. There's the circumstances, and then there are our reaction to the circumstances. And yeah, the circumstances, there may be time pressure on you. There's a test coming up and you have to learn a lot of things. One of the easiest things to contain yourself and not feel stressed is to focus on every task one at a time without, interpreting the big picture, without, oh my God, what's going to happen to me if I fail, if I have all these chapters to all these books to learn. I have so much, the deadline, so much to do, I'm never going to make it. This is what creates most of the stress that you're experiencing. If you just focus on one thing at a time, you break it down into one step at a time, well, most individual steps are pretty manageable. They're not that stressful. Now I'm reading this chapter. Now I'm working on this task. Now I have to answer this email. And it's only these extra thoughts of like all the other stuff that you need to do that stress you out. So one of the best things as a student is to just focus on one thing at a time. And you can tell right away when your mind is drifting and I'm thinking about too much again. It's all in the mind, right? And then rein it back and try to stay focused on just what you're working on right now. And then the next thing, and then the next thing. And that way you get through it much more efficiently. You don't lose your sanity. You're more productive. You retain things better. You can't retain things if you're stressed and worried. So everything improves. You feel better, and you actually build positive momentum that way.
Yeah, and one more thing I can add, like if you're a student, if you have exams and if you're studying too much, give some time to relax yourself also. Just don't ignore your food, and give yourself little rewards. If you have achieved something, even if you have completed one chapter or something, a goal of the day, give yourself time to relax and give small rewards. It can help you, it can make a difference.
Absolutely. Little things make big difference. If someone's asking about how to change your environment when you're cooped up inside, if you have I have a few different sitting stations throughout my place, and I may sit on the couch for this, or I may sit on a little stool for a change. I may go to the kitchen counter for a change. I may just be standing up. Even just often when you're sitting at your computer, standing up makes a difference. So there's ways to even within a confined environment to keep things flowing and keep the energy going. Every day I take, my friends laugh at me for this, I take Palo Santo or some incense several times a day, and then I walk around the house and I clear the energy. And even that, it keeps the flow happening, and you feel refreshed afterwards. It works.
And by the environment, when when I'm dealing with my thoughts, and when I feel overwhelmed, and I see a difference in my room. Actually, if my room is completely cluttered, it's not that clean and all that stuff, and I try to keep it clean. It does make difference. Environment makes a lot of difference. The more you, and just getting out of your room, if you are sitting in your room in your bed and thinking, you lot of negative things, maybe just get out of that room, take a walk and come back. Maybe it will make a difference.
Yes, even take a shower if you know.
Yeah, take a long shower, do something, but just don't sit there for a long time.
Exactly, exactly. We're not meant to sit. We're just not meant to sit. It's a weird thing actually that we do so much
Yeah.
sitting. Yeah. All right, wonderful. I think we had a few more questions.
Yeah, one more thing. How therapy will help me, how it helped you. So I think I have already discussed this.
Yeah. So we talked about that. There still is in many parts of the world such a big taboo towards
Yeah.
therapy, and that just needs to, it's falling away, which is great. There's so many wonderful. It's not just talk therapy anymore. You're not just sitting on the couch talking to somebody, and
Yes.
there's so many.
And exactly. And one thing I would like to say, that people, that person who is the mental health professional, they have studied mind, they have studied brain, they have spent so much time and studying that, and they are expert in that field. So I think it can be very helpful.
Yes, absolutely. And always look for many different, see what resonates. For one person,
Yes,
one therapist may not be the right person. Or
exactly.
one modality, one kind of approach may not be the right approach. Just keep searching and look for something that works for you. And it may not last forever either. There may come a point where this has kind of run its course. It's not working so well anymore, and then you look for something else. Keep seeking, keep searching, and there's so much out there, and you're sure to find something that works for you.
Yes, I think I found help in the third therapist. First two therapy sessions didn't help me, so I kept it changing. So yeah, that's a good
Yeah,
point.
exactly. That's a great one. I see some questions about depression.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How to handle a person who is suffering from depression. You talked about handling your depression. Okay. So I think talking that person, listening to that person without passing any judgment, and seeing the symptoms of that person. If that person is sleeping on time, what is sleeping habits, eating habits, and I think seeing the symptoms and talking helps, and just showing the person that you actually care and you are there to listen, and
Yeah.
you are there, in their journey.
Yes, exactly. And so you mentioned one of the key words, listening. And there's a whole chapter in my book on listening. And it's really, it can be very healing for someone that just to be heard, right? Without you, the listener, injecting your own judgments into it. And that takes a little practice as well, because the other person can sense right away if you have some judgment, if you're judging them for something.
Exactly.
And then they shut down and they don't feel heard, and it doesn't help them at all. It can make things worse even. But if you're a good listener, can listen with an open mind and just keep your own opinions out of the mix. It's not about you at that moment. It's about creating a safe space for the other person so that they can express themselves and allow those emotions to come out. And that way they heal, and you also benefit from being an open-minded listener as well, because you're not in your head. So, I agree with this, I disagree with this, or trying to tell the other person what is right or what is wrong, and you get relief
Yes.
from your own kind of dominant mind space there as well. So
And
good.
sometimes not even giving advice right away. Sometimes just listen. Don't even give advice. Don't even pass any judgment. Just be an active listener that what that person is sharing.
Yes, exactly. There's a good, I think it's the 2 or 3 second rule. Whenever somebody
Yeah.
else, is speaking, and it seems like they finished speaking, don't say anything for 3 seconds. And because very often that in that space, in that stillness, is when the insights happen, and the other person will then maybe start talking again. But it's that little space that's really important to give them, where a lot of the healing and the growth and the self-reflection happens. You're just a sounding board at that point, and allowing them to self-discover, because that's really the only way we discover is through ourselves, and we need somebody who can mirror us back, not tell us what we should do and what we shouldn't do.
Oh, this was something new. 3 seconds. I didn't know that. Thanks for sharing. Yeah.
Yes, good, very good. All right.
Okay. So there are one more questions. Um, I'm okay. I feel alone and suffocated during holidays. What can I do?
Mm, yeah. And that's one of the core things that goes back to being true to yourself, is not feeling like you have to participate if you don't want to, not feeling like you have to celebrate a certain way if you don't feel like it.
You'd have to.
Yeah, it's tough sometimes because there's so much pressure, the family or friends and society, everyone's doing it a certain way. But you know, if you do have to show up, try not to be in resistance on the inside. You know, maybe there's a way to show up for you and just be part of the ceremony or the proceedings. And you can have a meal and you can be friendly, but try to stay out of that resistance within, because that's creating even more problems for you. And so over time, you more and more know who you are, and you start to express yourself who you are, and you're more confident in who you are, and then you can say, you know, I'm busy, or I would rather stay alone tonight, and that's totally okay. You don't have to cover it up. And I'm spending time with somebody else, and everything just gets better the more you are you.
Yes, and yeah, try to enjoy your own company. It's not that easy, especially when we are suffering, but when you do, it feels good. Feeling content in our own self is very important.
Yes, it's the ultimate goal, right? Once you're content
Yes,
with yourself, you're never alone. There is no such thing as loneliness. You are so solid in your own sense of self that's actually when the dependency on the world around you have fallen away, and you're so confident in yourself that you become one with everything again. Then you're not alone, because you recognize that you are yourself. Everyone else should be themselves, is meant to be themselves. There's no right or wrong. We're all from the same place.
yes. There is one more question. How can I balance my mind and stay motivated?
Yes. Okay. So that's a great question. I'm going to start with the motivation part first, because this is the most common, I think, trap that we all fall into, is that
Yes,
we think of a goal. We think, I want to be this, so I want to achieve that, or I'm supposed to be this, and I'm supposed to be that. And so we think of that first, and then we make a plan of how to get there. And nothing could take us out of being present more and being true to yourself and how you feel right now than living for outcomes, living for the future, living for some goal. And all the things that we make up in our minds of how to get there are not in alignment with us. And that's also why they most of the time it doesn't work out ever anyways, because we can't predict the future. We can't make up what's going to happen tomorrow or even the next moment. We don't know. The mind wants to know. As long as we're in our headspace, we want to predict and plan and achieve and attain, and we reach for goals. So the first important thing is to look at what is motivating you. Is the end goal motivating you, the outcome? Because that's a difficult one to go after, because it's always moving. You're always living for the outside world. Look for what the source of motivation from within, meaning if you are true to yourself, you feel what's right for you and what feels right and true for you in this moment. That determines how you feel, and that will, one moment by next moment, lead to more happiness and more joy, and your path unfolds that way. It reveals itself. You don't have to pick that end goal. If you know what you're aligned with right now, that informs the next moment of alignment, and so forth. So that's the first important thing, because we're so trained and so conditioned to look for goals and live for goals and live for outcomes. And that's where all our unhappiness, comes from, is never being present, never being true right now.
yes. And I just want to add one line that it's not practical to stay motivated all the time. You should never first thing is never expect that we are going to stay motivated all the time. It never happens. It is not practical, in my opinion.
Yes, exactly. That's exactly it. And so then the first part is how to stay stable is like you just said, is just don't expect to always be happy and always be perfect. And our whole call today has been around allowing the emotions. There's ups and downs. If you cling to the happy stuff and then you resist the unhappy stuff, well, then your life is going to be up and down and up and down and up and down all day long.
Yeah.
But if you allow those feelings to come and go, then your life doesn't go up and down. You're stable, and life passes through you, and there's immense joy and gratitude and presence that can be achieved from the stability of just being you, and not the roller coaster of chasing happy emotions and trying to avoid the unhappy ones.
Yes.
Yes. All right,
So,
very good.
yeah, there's one more question. How are you spending your new year, you and Chris? Okay.
Well, I usually spend the Christmas through New Year. I go to a silent retreat, a 10-day silent retreat, where I just sit in silence and I focus on my breath, and I have to do that. I feel like to balance out all the busyness of the rest of the year. So not just the daily things, but once or twice a year, I take the time to really for 10 days just sit in stillness and be with myself, so that I continue to nurture that foundation of being me and being true to myself. So that's what I usually do. Not doing it this year because I'm preparing for the book promotion and all that. But it's if I'm not doing it during the holidays, I'll do it soon after.
And I'm not doing anything. I mean, I'm home alone. So what I'm doing is like I have list of movies to watch. I did it on Christmas, and for New Year I have the same plan. So I'm just going to enjoy the holiday by myself. I'm going to watch those movies, and I'll be just eating junk food. It's so I'll be cheating. So that's it, and I will just decorate my room to make feel like, okay, this is New Year. I like playing with those lights. So that's all what I'm planning to do.
That
It's
sounds
very
fantastic.
simple.
Simple
Yeah.
sounds fantastic. That's really wonderful.
Yeah.
All right, I think I think we're good on time, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was a wonderful session. I hope we can do it again. I hope
Yes.
all the viewers got something out of it. I saw a lot of a nice smile. Thank you, and for both of us. And
Yes.
hope we can do it again. And hope just bringing a different perspective. And there's a lot of challenges around this time, and talking it out and listening to others talk it out I think will help and benefit everyone.
Yeah, I hope my friends find it beneficial.
Yes.
I truly wish.
All right. Well, thank you, Smriti, and thank you everyone for joining us. Happy holidays and the rest of the final spurt of the year, and lots of great energy and positivity and blessings into the new year and beyond.
Yeah, and thanks to you, Chris, for doing this, for reaching out. It was great, and happy holidays to everyone. Best wishes.
Okay, best wishes. Thank you.
Okay.